session. Does it sound reasonable to you? If you extend your reason all the way, does it sound reasonable to you? It's utterly, absolutely unreasonable that when the planet is spinning like this, traveling at such a speed, everything is happening, and we don't know one thing from the other and we sit here and talk with such authority about everything. Does it seem reasonable to you? There is no reason to anything, isn't it? Reason or the human logic is essentially useful to handle the material aspects of life. If you try to stretch your reason or logic to the life process itself, you will be completely lost. You'll be completely lost because logic will flounder the moment you enter the life process. So the more logical somebody becomes, the more struggles he starts for himself, within himself or herself. I was not using him as a masculine thing, it's I grew up in 50s, 60s where him was universal, not a male thing. The logical dimension of who you are is, your logic is useful only to handle the material of life because your logic has evolved through the partial perceptions of your five senses. When I say partial perceptions, the very nature of your sense organs right now are such, it can only perceive anything partially. If I show you this part of my hand, you cannot see this. If I show you this, you cannot see this. This is not just with my hand, even if you take a grain of sand, that's how your perception is. You can hear the sound, but you cannot hear the silence. Everything is like this because your sense organs are devised like this, they perceive everything in parts. It is because your perception is all in parts that you have evolved a logic. If there was no two, there would be no logic, isn't it? The basis of logic is you have divided the existence in your understanding, that is why there is logic. With this instrument of logic, if you try to go beyond a certain point, then you will see you'll flounder, you don't get anywhere. Even modern science is beginning to realize this. Today scientists are talking about fuzzy logic because they're unwilling to admit they're getting illogical. What's fuzzy logic? Fuzzy logic means you're getting mixed up, isn't it? So, essentially, it is beyond its ambit, that's all. Nothing wrong with it, nothing right about it, nothing wrong about it. It's wonderful in a certain area. It's just like, you're not a driver, so you won't understand this. If you were driving your whatever, I see lots of BMWs around in Bombay right now. So you're driving a BMW, a good car to drive in the Bombay streets, or you want to take it out, but tomorrow you want to go to the moon. If you try to go to the moon with your BMW, well, you saw the moon out there, and if you want to go to the moon full blast, the only thing that may happen is we'll have to fish you out of the ocean. You're not going to go to the moon. So with your logic, if you try to go beyond a certain point, you have to be extricated. That's why you said, maybe we will need a psychoanalyst, not a guru. Psychoanalyst is only trying to extricate you, not to elevate you, isn't it? So no, a psychoanalyst is only trying to extricate you from the mess that you've gotten into. Why the mess has happened? The mess has happened essentially because you're trying to drive your BMW to the moon. Before it becomes a wreck, we must understand this is not the instrument to go there. Enjoy the BMW here. If you want to go up, there's another kind of instrument. Without that, there's another kind of vehicle without which you cannot go.
And the Guru's job is to help prepare that vehicle?
To build you a spacecraft.
To build you on a spacecraft?
Yes.
I mean, these are just terms that we all grow up with without really knowing the distinction, I think, very often. What is the difference between a guru and a saint?
If you just want to be blessed, what is a blessing? Let's understand this. See, today, There's a lot of research and science has grown in this direction. See, right now, this vessel of water, if I just hold my hand like this for a minute and give it to you, in the laboratory, we can prove to you the molecular structure of this water will change, depending upon my thought, my emotion, my energy and things like that. Do you know this?
You mean if a guru touches it?
No, anybody. A guru may have little more control over the situation, that's all. If you look at the water with lots of love and give it to somebody, the water will behave in a certain way because the molecular structure of the water will change without changing the chemical structure of the water. This is an established fact today, it's a scientific fact. So now, in India, Tirth, in the temple, even if you're multi-billionaire for that drop of water, people are struggling like this because they're thinking the water has memory. They are wanting that because that water may carry the memory of the divine. They want to have a little bit of that in their system. So that may look like a crazy thing for you, but today modern science is saying this. Well, your grandmother said this also to you. Do not receive water or food or just from anybody, you must eat it in the right place, from the right people. They told you in Tamil Nadu for sure. But when your grandmother said it was superstition, but now that it comes after $1 million or $1 billion research, it's science. Now they're telling you the same thing. So, the influence that you can exert upon the five elements, all the five elements have a memory of their own. That's the reason why they're behaving the way they're behaving. What you call as myself, what you call as the human structure, is essentially the work of a certain software. Software means memory, isn't it? That we know today. Memory chip, memory card, all these things we're using, the names, the terminology has come in. Now, the same thing that was soil became food. That same thing that was food became human being. That same thing that's food becomes soil again. What is it that's happening? What is it… how come the soil became a fruit or a flower or whatever else? Just the memory that is carried in the seed, isn't it? Isn't it so? How is it that anybody looks like their father or mother or this or that? It's just the memory carried in that one single cell of seed, isn't it so? So, the material is same, it's just the same five elements, it is just the memory. Now, you can influence the memory in so many ways. You just by a thought, emotion or with a certain control over your energies, you can influence the memory immensely to a point where everything about it will change. So if I can change the water in this vessel, you are also 72% water, So if I can influence this water, can I not influence that water? So if I can make this water pleasant, can I not make that 72% water pleasant? This is the science of yoga. This is what people are thinking is mysticism. There is nothing mystical in the existence. Anything that you are ignorant of seems mystical to you. Isn't it? Whatever you're ignorant of seems mystical to you, isn't it?
And the guru has reached a point of borderless ignorance.
Yes. If you have become borderless ignorance, if you have no knowledge of your own, that means you have no memory of your own. It is that knowledge which separates you from the rest of the existence, isn't it? If you have no knowledge of your own, if you're borderless ignorance, aren't you as big as the creation itself?
And the guru and a saint?
A saint is somebody with his whatever work that he might have done with himself, he's become a pleasant being. He blesses people. A blessing is like… it's like, having your cell phone charged a bit. But it again runs out. Yes, depends on the use. How quickly it runs out depends on the use. So in India, people understood this, traditionally they understood this, now it's just whatever. But even now, there is a certain understanding in the culture that if there is a saint, seek his blessing, it doesn't matter, you don't know who he is. See, you don't have to do anything. Now that you talked about whatever the… Even if you have some film extra dressed up like a saint and make him sit there, and you bring your friend in India, any Indian person and say, this is a saint, immediately he'll go touch his feet. Because he understands wherever possible, whatever little blessing he can receive, he must receive, which is a certain intelligence, I'm saying. Wherever possible, as much blessing as possible you gather because these things run out, he knows that. He knows that it lasts only for a certain time, so wherever possible, as much as possible, you are in the airport, are you not looking for the charging port? So wherever possible, if you just… he doesn't have to be anything. If you simply say, without question, they'll seek blessing. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it, all I got is little exercise. What's the problem? I mean, he doesn't have an issue about it. If there is something, I'll get it, if there isn't, I don't get it, so what? So saints are like this, they cannot interfere with… Interfere is a wrong word for you because it's a very negative word. They cannot fix anything about you, they can only bless you. A guru is like a mechanic. A mechanic's job is not as graceful as that of a saint. It's definitely more graceful than getting hands-on and doing all kinds of things with you, isn't it? But a guru is a mechanic. If you have a disorder of any kind, you must go to a mechanic, isn't it? I don't have any disorder, I am fine. That is a disorder. Do you understand? Because the disorder is you have not even opened your eyes and look at the existence around you. To even say that I am fine, not knowing where you came from, where you will go, what is the nature of the existence, who I am, what I am, not knowing anything and saying I am fine, that is a serious disorder. So if you have a disorder like this, then you must go to your guru because he's not there just to bless you, he's there to work with you. It's a different game altogether. If you are looking for solace, you must go to a saint, he's good. If you're looking for a solution, only then you must go to a guru. You don't go to a guru for solace because he will disturb the hell out of you. He's not here to pacify you, he's here to awaken you. He's not a tranquilizer, he's a come-awake solution. So if all you want is, you want to be blessed and you want to go to sleep well tonight, you must go to a saint, nothing wrong with it. Right now, somebody just wants to sleep well today, blessing is all they need. Someone else is in pursuit of wanting to know the ultimate, that's a different problem altogether, isn't it? So for that, you go to a different place. So a guru is more like a mechanic or he's like a roadmap, he's a solution, he is not a solace. People come and always ask me, SadhGuru, please bless us, nothing should happen to me. I said, what kind of blessing is this? My blessing is let everything happen to you. Let everything that's life happen to you, isn't it? Let joy happen to you, grief happen to you, life happen to you, death happen to you, let everything happen to you. Have you come here to be insulated from life? Or have you come here to experience life? What is the basis of you being here? You have come here to experience life, then everything must happen to you, isn't it?
You also say that teaching is just one part of your work and a very small part of your work. And you say the greater part of your work is transmission. And that's what every guru is here for. What is transmission? Transmission of ignorance?
Transmission of the knowing that you're ignorant. When you say teaching, probably I was talking about the programs and going around the world talking. This is just definitely a very minor part of my life. Because when I speak, I'm not trying to give any teaching, I'm only trying to make people thirsty to know. I'm only here to make people realize they're ignorant. People have said this again and again. Any number of times you come there, he only reminds us in a million ways that we do not know. That's not good, he must tell us what to do. So what you're looking for is an advice. The very fundamental of seeking advice is that you want a ready-made solution for the life. And something you want to invest in the stock and you take somebody's advice, that's different. That also, it's better you figure it yourself, but somebody's an expert, you seek it as advice, that's different. When it comes to your life, seeking advice about whole life is a foolish thing to do. So, advice essentially means you want to go through life unscathed. Some safety capsule with which you can pass off without experiencing life. So people seeking advice, people seeking teachings is essentially because they think they can collect it. Because human beings have been, hunters and gatherers for a long time. When they could gather pieces of bones and tooth and this, they hung it around them, feathers and whatever. Later on it became gold and diamonds and then it becomes knowledge and scriptures and whatever, but still they're hunters and gatherers, isn't it? Unless your hunting and gathering stops, you will not know anything of the spiritual dimension. It will not happen that way. Both your hunting and gathering has to stop. You take some time to settle in a place because you come with doubts and problems and this and that, it's fine. But once something of significance has touched you, you must settle down, no hunting, no gathering, just being there. Otherwise, one will not be able to perceive this. So, transmission is essentially on that level. As maybe I have said to you also, I do not know, but I have initiated more people on this planet that I have never met than the people that I have met. People may sit in front of me and miss the whole point. Somebody that I have never met, the moment I see an opening, this will happen because this is not about talking, this is not about teaching, this is not about trying to make someone understand. The understanding is only towards that one thing is to understand that it is not a question of a mental exercise. Spiritual process is a way to transcend the limitations of the physical dimension of who you are right now. When I say physical, that includes mental, that's not something that you may approve of. But physicality and mentality are not two different things. Mind is also a physical thing. It is more subtle, it's just like if you see the light bulb, you can very clearly see it is physical, no question about it. Now if I ask, is this light physical? Now some people will think, is it physical or not? Well, when you were in high school, did you study light in your physics book or your spiritual textbook? Obviously in your physics textbook, isn't it? So it is physical. Is the electricity which is powering this bulb, is it physical? Definitely it's physical. But people may have issues about these things, that light is not physical, light is divine, light is something else. No, light is physical, bulb is physical, electricity is physical. So similarly, body is physical, mind is physical, emotion is physical. It is just getting little subtler, that's all. With this physicality, you cannot access the non-physical dimension about the borderless ignorance. See, the nature of the physical is a boundary, please understand this. A physical can exist only with a defined boundary. Without the definition of a boundary, there is no physicality. Do you understand what I'm saying? Without a defined boundary, there cannot be anything physical. Now I can call this physical body only because there is a boundary. If I remove the boundaries of this, there is no such thing as physical here. So you're talking about spirituality. When you say spiritual process, you're talking about a dimension beyond the physical. Not a teaching, not a scripture, not somebody's ideology, but you want to touch that dimension which is beyond boundaries, because this is not my inspiration for you. This is what every human being is longing for every moment of his life. Whoever he is, he wants to be something more, isn't it? If that something more happens, he wants to be something more. So they want to become infinite, but they're attempting it in installments. If I put you into any kind of boundary, the moment you realize there is a boundary, you want to break it, isn't it? Because this is not a cultivated stance. This is the basis of being human. The moment you see there is a limitation, there is a boundary, you want to go beyond that. If you go beyond that, what? Till you taste the next limitation, then you want to go beyond that. So there is something within you which does not like boundaries. There is something within you which is boundless or borderless. And that cannot be named as anything. The simplest thing is to say, that's me. And that's borderless ignorance, isn't it? Knowledge is a physical thing. Spiritual process is not a physical thing.
You know, you mentioned that you know what is going on with your followers at any point of time. You mentioned, you know, even if you are geographically apart or any time, how do you carry the energy of millions of your devotees or your mediators with you?